daughter who even knows anymore, no makeup on. No. In my snuggle. No, dude, I don't want you people to see me that way. I want you to see me at my best. I want you to see me with my 6-pack abs, not my fucking, cinnamon rolls. I want you to see me with my favorite bra on, under my favorite top, with my most flattering shape trainer, with my best pair of pants and my most adorable and fashionable heels and my most expensive bag, because that's who we are. We want to be liked. We want to be accepted. Whether we admit it or not, that is just basic, instinct. Human nature is, even if you don't care about it, we don't want people to hate us. You can get nowhere like that. So even if it's a learned behavior that comes from a selfish place, that's the way we are as humans. That's the way the world has conditioned us to be. But I share these with you because I truly feel like I have to be going through this shit for a bigger reason than just to be abused and beat down. I have to be learning these things and experiencing these things over and over and over again, because the last time I went through this hatred, I didn't do a good enough job using my voice. I wasn't vocal enough. I wasn't in enough self-control. I wasn't in my most evolved space. That's all I can really think of, because there is no reason, from the perspective of the belief system that's been ingrained in me from my family and the Bible and just morals and values and ethics of society, that this situation should be continuing after a day, let alone after a year, let alone after 4. And that's why GoPro Solo is making creative campaigns such a priority. Have you guys ever seen that Dar Man? He does or did, I haven't seen him in a while, but he does or did content that was ethically sound. Now, a lot of these content creators that started making ethically sound content, they started getting exposed. I want you to ask yourself, exposers, what is your impact? What are you going for here? Because it's one thing to hold someone accountable in a way that's person to person. It's another thing to negate an overall very positive message. So I don't know anything about Darman. I don't know if he's a good person, a bad person. I don't know if he's a phony. I don't know anything about him. I don't know if he is Buddha himself, or who's another peaceful person, whatever. I don't know him. But I do know that he is a model for a group of content creators that a lot of companies were looking forward to working with and hiring, because he produces morally sound messages. But none of us, we're all human. None of us are perfect. So there's this miserable group of people who are trying to get in where they fit in by quote unquote exposing content creators with positive messages of light. They are trying to silence the light, because that's what evil does. Because as I said before, in the presence of truth, lies can't exist. So yeah, that's kind of what's been going on with me, and what I would advise the other influencers who have been dealing with that hatred. You are a micro influencer with 200 to 2,000 to even 20,000 followers. You are going to start feeling, if anyone takes you seriously, you are going to start, noticing the hate along with the positive messages that are sent to you. If you can't handle it now, that doesn't mean get out of the kitchen. We have to train ourselves to handle this, and someone has to be able to handle it so that we can figure out ways to heal it. And one of the largest shows of misery is in the way that others are treated. So it doesn't mean a person is a miserable person or depressed person. Yesterday I was screaming at the top of my lungs at Xavier. I never really do this. We don't have these problems. But he was doing like really obscene things. He was like showing his entire butt in the middle of Lincoln Park, like literal 6 inches of crack, you guys. Like, it was disgusting. It was like this much. It was awful. And he like had his whole pants down. And I'm like, Xavier, I always talk to Xavier about PR. I'm like, we're already going through hell. GoPro Solo, Heather, Xavier, my family. Like, when I say hell, just me not being in the same household as my children, that's hell for all of us, okay? Us not being together, my children not having a home with their own bedrooms with their mother, that is hell. So when I say my family's going through this, that's what I mean. I don't mean like every day we have to be being bludgeoned. Like, calm down. Just not being together is hell. Now add in all the other shit, it's definite hell. But when I'm already going through that and I have a sit down with my significant other and I tell him, Xavier, I need you to be more aware and more, on top of the PR of our life. Like, we know who we are. We're good people for the most part. I have very, very socially accepted basic rules for life that are of the moral and social ethics of most, or more than most. And Xavier agrees with most of them. Walking around, leaving a bunch of garbage all over an area where we just stayed, showing your butt crack, intentionally knocking over our bags so that you take longer to pack up our stuff, knowing that it triggers my anxiety, or that I have a doctor's appointment at 2 that you're going to make me miss, or things like that, because that's what was going on yesterday and what's been going on a lot of the times that you hear me getting upset. When these things happen, I have to remember I am not the person who is yelling and getting upset. And I have to realize that in that moment I am miserable, but that doesn't mean I'm a miserable person. In that moment you may be miserable. We are not, none of us are dealing with situations in life that are 100% fun and amazing at all times. We have hills and we have valleys. And in dealing with the valleys, we make mistakes. Now, do I think yelling is always a mistake? No, I don't. There's a practical application for yelling. Number one, I want other people to hear and see what's going on. So I'm going to attract attention to the situation because I'm desperately trying to get into the doctor for the health of my unborn child as well as myself. If someone is doing something intentional to prevent that, I want to be loud about it. I want people to look at what's going on. They're going to remember in their mind, okay, this is happening. It's not her. She's trying to get where she's supposed to be. If this person is physically preventing her from doing so, what would I do, you guys? Am I going to leave my home, my tent, my blankets, my clothes? No. I don't know what this person who is manipulating the personality of Xavier has planned for my belongings if I walk away from them. I do know that I can reschedule a doctor's appointment. I also know that I'm not going to waste the money I have saved for my kids' Christmas gifts to go and replace my living situation, right? So I need to take a certain amount of caution and care with the items I already have so that I can use the $400 or $500 I have saved up, which is nothing, you guys. I'm used to spending about $1,000 on each kid, which I know is nothing for a lot of you. For me, it was a lot. And it hurts me, not that I can't spend it because I of status or clout, but because my kids, I've trained them to expect it. I've trained them to expect to receive what they ask for at Christmas time because they're beautiful kids. They're good kids. They're amazing. And they deserve the world, as do most of the children in this world, or all of them, whatever you want to say. But I have my little stash of money, that I can count on for Christmas gifts for my children. If I leave my belongings here and someone steals them or destroys them, I won't be able to use that money to take care of my children. Now that money becomes money that needs to be used to replace the necessities, the bare necessities for life, which are shelter and food and clothing, So it's a lot more complex than it appears at face value. There is a place for yelling. There is a place for for refusing to accept abuse and mistreatment. And that stands for the online realm as well as the real world, in real life, in person, 3D life. You have to be able to accept that there are going to be people for no reason who just are awful to you, which is a very hard thing for me. I'm a salesperson at heart. I like to win people over, not for malicious reasons, but just like I said, I just don't. If I walk into a room and I see everyone like happy as fuck, but there's one person in the corner that looks hurt and sad, it immediately captures my attention. And I'm thinking, and you'll ask Xavier, you'll ask anyone who knows me. I've made conversations with people who look dirty, poor, just because I want to see them smile for one moment because they are so void of life and spirit in that moment. There are people who are the opposite of that. There are people who are feeling that internally, but so good at faking and pretending like they're happy that your genuine light and your genuine happiness, it pisses them off. You getting a deal, you getting an opportunity, you getting whatever, it pisses them off. Some of them are righteous to feel that way. Some of them are homeless, have never committed a crime, have no criminal record, and they're being ignored by the world. So they look at someone frivolously spending $1 million for content and they're angry with purpose, right? But those ones, they won't be in your comments. You know, they'll be at the alderman meetings, maybe. They'll be creating content of their own to change the rhetoric. They're too smart to be launching an attack against one single person when they realize that one single person is a model for everything that's wrong or right in the world. And they'll use that model as motivation, as a medium, as amusing to create art or content of their own that changes the rhetoric, that changes the narrative. But then there are also people who are just assholes. Unenlightened. They don't know what the fuck is going on because they don't care to educate themselves, or just they don't know. Some of it's more innocent than that. It's not your job to evaluate every situation. It's your job to cope with each situation to the best of your ability and with the interest of the people who are watching. If you're an influencer, you have a moral obligation. So the people who are watching you as well, they've already seen a lot of the hatred. How much of that do you want to feed into and respond to? How much of that can you afford to completely ignore? And how much of that do you address, and how do you address it? So for everyone who is in the influencer field or hoping to get into, the influencer space, understand that this is going to happen. And for those of you who are successful influencers, there will come a time when sponsorship declines and you got to come up with something new. So stay creative, stay resilient, cry it out when you need to, forgive yourself, forgive others, and try not to isolate. That's the biggest one I can tell you. Try your darndest not to isolate. And isolating doesn't need to mean being alone physically. You could be alone physically and not be isolated. Take advantage of whatever social media platform or community that is going to help you get through. But try never to turn completely inward for extended periods of time. If you need a week or a day by yourself, fine. But like I said, always come back. Always come back, always reel it in, always come back to who you are. Keep your feet cemented. Let your head go into the clouds. Let your head go to the right. Let it go to the left. But keep your feet cemented and reel it back in, All right, you guys, Xavier's back with breakfast, and I'm going to continue doing my makeup and preparing for the day. I've been having such a fucking headache getting my lab orders, so I'm going to handle that. And I love all of you guys, and I hope that you all have a great day. And just don't let them win when their goal is to kill you. Stay alive.